when we feel like we're in a hurry, we always have less time. Did you ever notice that? I'm going to explain that to you today. Aren't you glad?
Yeah.
Do you always want to know why that is? There are studies being done right now. We're going to tap into that in a minute. But like what the Sufis were saying, I'm going to read this to everyone because some of you didn't get it last week, especially if you weren't here. I'm going to back up. This thing just keeps doing that. Okay, so I mentioned the Sufi master and musician Hazrat Inayat Khan. And one of his things that he said was, before its incarnation, the soul is sound. All right, so that's vibration. The soul is sound. It is for this reason that we love sound. When we love something, we participate with it, whether we're fully aware of it or not. For instance, when we are around people we're comfortable with or in love with, you just kind of let your guard down. You're participating with the energy of that person without really thinking about it in the mind. But the consciousness of the body is aware that it can just relax. When you're with your people, think of some times when this has happened for you. Hopefully this is one of them. I love being with everyone here on Sundays. I loved last week. It was fun to just be with people again. You know, seeing all the different expressions of the light. Some people work with crystals. Some people are mediums. Some people are, the punchline of a joke, small, mediums, at large. Joke next week. We'll get to that. But the seeker can finally achieve the desired spiritual intoxication and a unique and intimate union, even annihilation, which the Sufis call fana, annihilation, in the Supreme Being. In Sufi music, this practice is known as sama, which is Arabic, and it's a word that means listening. So it's active listening. I remember many years ago when I was being trained as a sales representative in the financial services business. I was trained by one of the top financial service industries, companies in the world. I had some of the best training of my life, and it was on active listening. We practiced that for hours in a day, weeks, months, before we were ever turned loose in somebody's house at a kitchen table, talking about the dreams of their lives and how to implement them with financial stability, right? I had to really listen. We had all these tools, we had all these things that we were going to try to offer, but how do you know what to offer when? So I want you to think about all of the gifts of your soul, the gifts of light that show up in the ways that you show up, and all the things you're really not just good at, but you love, you're passionate about, right? I remember having another training at another time as a spiritual teacher was saying, you know, we all have these positive character traits, but you can't always lead with your best one because sometimes it's inappropriate. I was like, yeah. So I like making people laugh, but I started to think about when that's probably not the best thing to lead with. You know, like maybe at a funeral home. You don't lead there, maybe you could go there, but you don't come in whooping it up with people, right? That's probably not so everything is not for every time, right? And every time is not what it seems. So this is where the heart of the mystic comes in. When we pay attention and really listen to not so much what's going on the outside, but what's happening on the inside. So many of you know I've been a meditator for a long, long time. It doesn't mean the best meditator in the world yet. What it means is I've practiced active listening to silence. Stilling the heart, sometimes stopping the breath, and you go beyond, where there's no interruption of time, space, ideas, beyond thoughts. You know, if SoulCall is anything, and I've said this a million times, it's the beyond thought movement. There's new thought, and then there's no thought. And this is where we step in and off of like building, you know, like spiral dynamics, just building on what's come before and dissolving what's come before at the same time, right? It's just getting to a different rate of vibration frequency, like pulling in the light, what Helen just taught us, so that we can amplify our consciousness to a place of stillness where we can perceive it all, So talking about moving fast or moving slow, I don't know, as I walk room to room in my house, and I'm gifted with and cursed with, I have one of those houses where it's like a big circle. You know what I mean? And I like it because I'm never stuck in one room, like I can just go this way or that way. But as I do that, sometimes I make a game of moving things as I'm going. Like, oh, here's this, I needed to do this, depending on where my mind is. Oh, yeah, and then I walk into the room to put that there. Oh, well, there's that. And then I pick that up and go to put it over here. Oh, well, there's that. You got me going in circles. I'm doing it to myself. And I'll stop and I'll be like, sit down and just do one thing at a time. It's great to be able to multitask, but if you do that every day, it's kind of funny. I don't do it every day. I'm just saying I notice when I'm doing it. Do you notice when you're doing it? I see heads nodding. How many people have like one of those open circles in their houses? Yep. So how to slow down. I came across a study in the New York Times the other day about the heart and how it's the heart that dictates our experience of time. So think of a time when you're doing something you absolutely love and it's just time flies, right? Or I just don't like this. This is so boring. Time drags on. So they found out that it's not just the brain that tells you whether time is fast or slow or who keeps track of time. It's not just the heart either. It's the interaction and the relationship between the brain and the heart. Is anyone surprised by that? No. Okay, so think of a time. I remember one of my jazz musician friends who's quite accomplished. He's a fantastic jazz guitarist. And he was sharing a time when he was in college and he just went into one of the practice rooms to just work on a piece. And when he came out, he thought he was in there for an hour and a half, maybe. He was in there for 16 hours. Mm-hmm. He lost track of time. So when we do that, he wasn't hungry, he wasn't tired. In fact, he felt he had more energy because we get out of the ideas that are superimposed upon our consciousness that we need this and you need that and you got to do this. You can live on life force alone. I wouldn't suggest trying to go do that tomorrow. I'm just saying there are times when you get pulled into it. I think we've all experienced it. Where you just lost track of time. It was so much fun, right? Or man, that's like when you're a little kid, it might be something like repeat rides on the roller coaster. They actually had to put a sign, no repeat rides. You had to get out and then you had to get back on, right? So it's like that. But in consciousness, you can have repeat rides. You can enjoy this thing anytime you want. Think of a time when you experienced something that was really, really good, like one of these quintessential times of your life, the best time of your life. If you were just going to relax under a tree, maybe spring's coming and you want to be out in the breeze, and if you conjured up the memory of that experience and just replayed it in a little movie theater of your third eye, like your consciousness in the middle of your forehead, and really let yourself pull in as many feelings, as many smells, as many colors. If you made it as vivid and started allowing yourself to relive that moment right then, the magic is it returns to the surface of your cells and your body doesn't know whether you're doing it now or if it was 20 years ago or however many years ago. That's the study of a gentleman named Tor Noratrander. Did all kinds of studies on this. And it's kind of like the trickery of neuro-linguistic programming, but it's really tapping into what the subconscious mind has stored away for you if you ever wanted to get deep into a situation you've already experienced. Your mind is taking in maybe 11 miles worth of information at once, but your prefrontal cortex, this little piece right here, is just maybe taking in an inch because it has to make sure you're not going to get killed in the process, whatever this great time is you're having. It's doing other things. But when you've already survived it, I was talking to a friend the other day, he was saying, I love watching a close basketball game, especially if I know who's going to win. So it's recorded, you already know who's going to win. Then you can just sit back and relax. And when everybody else, their hearts were pounding in the seats, you can just enjoy it. Do you like knowing what's going to happen? Sometimes we get that pleasure and sometimes we just don't, right? Okay, so I'm going to read something to you. Going back to this heart, mind, it's the brain and the heart specifically. It's beyond the mind. But in a state of terror, time can stretch. A day spent in solitude can drag, depending on who you are. I kind of like that. When we're trying to meet a deadline, hours race by. Yeah. The study published in a psychophysiology book magazine by a psychologist at Cornell University found that when observed at the level of milliseconds, some of these distortions could be driven by heartbeats whose length is variable from moment to moment. So they've gotten it defined to, they hooked up students to electrocardiograms and just measured the length of their heartbeats and then the space in between. And that is what dictated their perception of time. So they fitted students with electrocardiograms and measured each heartbeat precisely and then asked them to measure the length of audio tones. So they played little tones for them. They discovered that after a longer heartbeat interval, subjects tended to assess the tone as longer and shorter assessed as shorter. And subsequent to each tone, the subject's heartbeat intervals lengthened. So the time in between lengthened, whether it was short or long. And the lower the rate, the lower the heart rate appeared to assist with perception. So what they're saying is the lower the heart rate, the slower we can get it. It makes us more aware of other things that are happening. Then we get more still, and all of a sudden we have vibrational, dimensional realities that are available to us because our heartbeats aren't racing. So think of a turtle whose heart beats 3 times per minute. They are the oldest living creatures on the planet that we're aware of at this time. Think about that for a minute. So if we can still our hearts, calm the body, and go beyond, you have access to higher rates of vibrational, dimensional reality than your mind or your brain will allow you to perceive. Because here we are in 3D, it's important to understand your surroundings, protect your physical organism as you move through time space. We don't walk into walls, but eventually maybe we could walk through them. I don't know. I wouldn't try that tomorrow either. Just saying. So there are ways that just lead us to this inner silence and this inner stillness. We got 2 up here. We got 1. Hello, welcome. Good morning. So when we perceive something from the outside world, the beats of the heart are noise to the cortex. So when your heart beats, sometimes you can hear my heart was pounding in my chest, but can you hear it in your ears too? Did you ever fall asleep with your head on your pillow just listening to your heartbeat? Is it soothing? I mean, I guess no heartbeat would be terrifying. And then it would start beating very fast, and then you'd be back to life. So you could sample the world more. It's easier to get things when the heart is silent. So think about all these books that you've seen here, there, everywhere. Enter the Quiet Heart. It's written by Sri Dayamata, one of Self-Realization Fellowships. All of these mystical traditions, every one of them are trying to get us to pay more attention to the heart. The wisdom of the heart is waiting. It's the wisdom of the heart. It's the wisdom of the heart. The brain is an excellent organ, necessary. I mean, you can't have one or the other. They're talking here about it's not part of the brain or the body that keeps time. It's all a network, is what it says. The brain controls the heart, and the heart, in turn, impacts the brain. It's a circuitry. So we are wired for sound. We are more wired for silence. If you think about it. Why would you say such a thing, Mr. Wizard? I think when you can still the body, calm the mind, slow the heartbeat down. So think about it. How many women in here have given birth to children? Okay. Did you take Lamaze classes? That's all breath. How many of you do breath work with clients or yourself, or you just, if you can breathe, yeah, the whole parasympathetic nervous system, if you can just catch the breath. Everybody just breathe for a minute. We're going to do, I was listening to, they come up with new ways of doing this all the time now, but it's essentially the same thing we've been doing for a long, long time, thousands and thousands of years. Somebody has caught on to the magnificence of the ease of breath control and how it can get us to calm down, slow down, and we can really perceive what's going on. Do you ever run into a room, I'm going to take you through an exercise, but first I want to tell you a little story. You know, when, if you're ever around where you're really trying to do something quickly and somebody's moving too slow, I mean, just think of traffic. I don't know, that's one place. Or this happens a lot when you're in an acute situation, an emergency physical situation with a human being, and you just called 911. And you're like, and they come in, where is everybody? What is this? Hurry up. And they walk calmly, they get their things out carefully. And that's what they need to do to just calm the thing down. But you want it, I want it now. Have you ever been in a situation like that? Yes, hopefully not. But if you are, it's the most maddening thing for a minute until it isn't, until the whole thing's under control. And then you can calm down. I could calm down too. It's like, okay, somebody's got it. But you can do this for yourself just with the breath. Entering the quiet heart, accessing vibrational dimensional reality that is with us, like the astral realm. I bet many of you in here see astral colors. Do you? You see them around sometimes. You can see them around people. You can just see them on their own. You can see them in meditation. When you allow yourself to drop the vibratory rate of a heartbeat, which is an interruption to the prefrontal cortex region. Just that coursing through your brains, through your brain and through your bodies, creates a vibration that can slightly keep you from all that you have access to. And you don't have to die to do it. Although St. Paul said, I die daily. Remember this? What he meant was, I go into the meditation and I go beyond. Be still and know that I am God. That's Jesus Christ too. So they're in all of these faith traditions, and just recognizing that it's here to inspire you, me, not to say these people were amazing. They were. You are too, but they practiced all these things on a regular basis, and it became a reliable part of their lives, just incorporating it every single day until you don't have the infinite has you. That's the thing. It's kind of like a rocket ship. Once it takes off, it needs enough force and energy to be able to get out of the gravitational pull of this earth. But there's this place where as soon as it breaks through, it gets pulled. It's pushing until it gets pulled, and then it floats. That's us. We make the effort until we're in. Like Red Rover, calling you all over, right? And you try to find that space. Did you ever play Red Rover? You try to find the weak spot. Then you try to run through the two little weaklings, you think. It's okay to say it. We all did it. I mean, now you're laughing because you know how to play this game. But the infinite tries to find the strong ones. It tries to find all of us. It tries to appeal to our strengths, because we're going to need all of that to build on. Them that's got shall get, them that's not shall lose. Billie Holiday. So the Bible says that it still is news. Next week is Jazz Sunday. Ben Maloney's going to be here. We'll sing that for you. So getting into this state of stillness. So let's try a little breathing technique. And they call this block breath. And you'll know it as soon as you hear it. What it is you're going to inhale to the count of 4. You're going to hold it to the count of 4. You're going to exhale to the count of 4. And then you're just going to be still to the count of 4. So it's a square. They call it block breathing. But how many of you have heard of this, some variation or theme? Yeah. So now it's new. It's brand new. There's a whole book on block breathing. You've been doing it for years, but do we practice it often enough? It's the thing. Probably not. I could practice more than I do. Pretty sure. Okay. Sometimes I have, straight line breathing. It's just, let's go. But just slow the thing down. So we're going to inhale to the count of 4. Here we go. And hold. Now exhale to the count of 4 through the mouth. Enjoy the breathless state for 4 seconds. And then you would repeat this practice. And what I would encourage you to do, this is also a breathing technique I teach voice students. Just inhale to the count of this, hold, and then exhale, and then just hold. In that holding before you take the next breath, that breathless state, remember how good that feels. And remember, that's part of life too, breathlessness. It took my breath away. Something so beautiful, right? Oh my God. There was a whole song. What was that? Take my breath away. Remember that? And when we're in love with something or someone, or something just brings us to that awe that we were talking about last week, AWE, we let go of the certainty of the things that we think we can define based on, our empirical wisdom, things we take in through the senses. So one of the first things we do when we meditate, everybody, I didn't even say it, but you all closed your eyes. It's an intuitive thing. Turning off the eyes gives the brain a whole bunch of freedom because there's so much going on with the eyes. So closing the eyes, then you learn how to tune out. In meditation, you just tune out everything that's going on around you, and you're tuning it all inside. There are techniques for this, but this breath one is a really easy one. So you remember the breathless state as being more natural than unnatural. And all of the subtle perceptions that we have, like from our consciousness, from our senses, you turn them all off and just put all of that effort and energy inside. Then you'll be this floating bubble in between worlds. Remember we were talking about the dervish last week? That thing in between worlds where I'm not this or that, I am, period. You'll be able to walk the middle ground without getting caught up in this or that. And you'll bring things back into balance, into harmony. You'll be that harmonious person that just pitches everyone up a little bit, if you will. Man, I don't know, when I'm around that person, I just feel like, woohoo. And as soon as they leave, I feel like, oh. Some people are like the sun. They just are. So just be the sun for yourself, that inner sun. Rumi said, little by little, the rosy cheeks are coming down from the rose gardens and orchards of love. And little by little, the non-beings are being gone and the true beings are coming. That's letting go of what you think you are so you become who you are. Don't go back to sleep. Wake up. When we're not fully awakened, we're not essentially a non-being, but you're kind of being bumped around by life and we're a little pinball kind of. But then once you're onto it, once you're awake, it's impossible to go back to sleep. It really is. You see it everywhere. You feel it everywhere in all things and all people. Doesn't mean they don't challenge you sometimes. You're still human, right? But it's the heartbeat. Remember that? Forgive me for this reference, but does anybody remember the DeFranco family? Heartbeat is a love beat. Remember that song? Good. I'm glad you don't. No earworms from me like that. But I just like the more you think of things and experience it from a heartbeat of love, the more calm it is. This is the interesting part about what I was reading about the heart. When we're excited to see someone, the heart beats fast. And when you're in love with someone and excited to see someone, your heart beats fast and slow at the same time because you're relaxed and excited at the same time. You see what I mean? So one kind of cancellare, it just cancels it out and you're in the middle. And time stands still, or it feels like it's lightning fast. When you go back to think about moments in time, memories are here. You could bring it right back, and it's kind of disorienting once you start moving through time space like this, is it not? When you think of a time that seems like it was 20 years ago, but it's like, my God, no, it's like right now. It is right now. But the brain is trying to say, no, that happened in I'm going back to the 1900s on you. Remember those days? Good old days. 1900s. So think of these things and allow yourself to practice meditation. There are walking meditations. You can feel the infinite everywhere all the time. That's not the point. The point is you can most practice the inherent nature of active listening, divine listening, the stillness of the soul. You can hear the silence. The silence was deafening. It is, because it's inside and it turns off everything else. There's nothing to hear when you're hearing the infinite, because you're hearing it all at the same time. You might even hear that cosmic sound of Om inside, and it's possible to hear that. You hear all sorts of things, but it's the practice of these things. So at SoulCall, we invite you to join us starting in April on Wednesdays. I'm taking a couple weeks off. Join us on Wednesdays for the meditations. Here on Sundays, we might do a little longer meditation in some of our program. And Remember who you are. Get caught up in yourself. Because really, it's divine. And it's not an ego caught up. It's a, wow, I can really control where I place my energy and my consciousness. And I can feel better at the same time.